Hello, welcome to this video for confidence. Sometimes if we're feeling quite anxious or panicky, it can have a feeling of it being really overwhelming and very up here. So this practice is going to be about supporting you to come back down and cultivate a little bit of inner strength and confidence. Confidence can look like a lot of different things, right? So there's going to be options to maybe be quite expressive and big and a bit loud in this practice. And then there'll also be some options to be quite calm and quiet in that confidence. So you can really pick and choose what you might like to participate in based on how you're feeling on any given day. So we'll start seated, and you can sit like I am, cross-legged. You might choose to take your legs out in front of you. You could take your soles of the feet to the floor and bend the knees. You could also kneel, just somewhere where you feel like you can feel the ground and maybe get a little more length through the spine. And what we're going to start with is just taking the hands onto the body and giving the body a bit of a squeeze. So maybe starting with the legs and then bringing it up to the arms and anywhere else in the body you want to and feel comfortable to touch. And also if you don't want to touch anywhere on the body, that's okay too. As you do this, I invite you to also just take your gaze around the room, notice what you can see, colours, patterns, shapes, and maybe take a couple of sighs. You might even take your hands down to your feet and give them a little bit of a rub. Some people don't like to touch their feet, so it's okay if you don't want to do that. Great. And then come back to your seat and just take a final little wiggle with the shoulders. And come to some stillness, finding a bit more length through the spine. And bring your hands together. And maybe take your gaze to your fingertips. And we're going to start with some really gentle movement where we're simply going to draw the fingertips away from one another and then bring them back together. And we'll take this a couple more times, and you might like to imagine that as the hands move apart, your confidence is sat inside the palms and is expanding. And as the hands come together, it's like you're giving that confidence a little bit of a hug. As the hands come apart, that confidence expands. And as they come together, you're giving it a bit of a hug. And we'll take this 3 more times, and if you'd like to, you could also coordinate this movement with the breath. So perhaps as you inhale, when that confidence expands, you open the hands apart. And as you exhale, the hands come back together, giving that confidence a bit of a squeeze. Taking that one more time. Inhale, expanding the hands, and exhale, coming back together. From here, we're going to be coming to take quite a grounded version of a sun salutation. So we're going to come to kneel, and I'm going to turn on my mat so you can see me from the side. So kneeling towards the back of your mat, and I'm going to talk us through starting from kneeling high, so high kneeling, but if you prefer to, you could take it lower, it's up to you. So we're going to start this by reaching up to high kneeling. Arms reach up to the sky, palms come together, and then we're going to take a bend over to one side, come back to center, and a bend over to the other, and back to center. And then bring the hands down so you come to 4-point kneeling, and we're going to lift the heart forward, maybe lift the gaze, and then we're going to bring chin to chest, doming the spine. And the last part of this is then sending the bum back to the heels. This is called child's pose. Let the head release. And then we're coming all the way back up, walking the hands back to come to kneeling here. We'll take that one more time. This time I'm going to give the option of bringing the breath into it. But again, if that doesn't feel right, you can just move and let the breath be however it is. So perhaps on an inhale, reaching the arms up, palms come together. And then exhale, bend to one side. Inhale, come back to center. Exhale to the other side. And inhale, come back to center. Exhale, bring the hands down, come into 4-point kneeling. And we'll inhale, lift up through the heart, maybe lift the gaze. And then exhale, chin to chest, doming the spine. Inhale, start to send the bum back towards the heels. And take an exhale here. And then as you next inhale, start to walk the hands back. So we come to kneeling. So now we're going to come up to standing. So let your hands come onto the floor and take whatever journey you need to get there. And maybe once the feet land on the floor, take a big bend in the knees and let the upper body release. And you might take a bit of a sway, maybe a little bit of a release through the mouth. And then in your own time, start to roll up through the spine, letting the head be really heavy. Take as much time as you need to come all the way back to standing. And then let yourself just take a moment to settle into that transition from being on the ground and standing. From here, I'm going to invite you to step your right foot forward. It doesn't need to be a big step. It can be even shorter than this if you'd like. And you can have your back heel down here, or if you'd like, you could lift the heel up. That might be a little bit more wobbly for balance, so you choose. And we might just take a bit of a bounce here to land. It doesn't need to look or be in any particular way. And from here, we're going to inhale, reach the arms up. And then exhale, soften a little more into this. So you might just stay here for a moment and see if you can really have a sense of taking up lots of space with this. So we're going to make a little bit of sound now, and it might also involve a bit of wobbling, and that's really okay. It can maybe be a bit of fun too. So I'll show you what we're going to do. We're going to take a big inhale. As we exhale, we're going to draw our elbows back. You can stay here, or there's the option as you draw your elbows back to kick your foot forwards and make some sound. So go, ha, and then step it back. All of that might feel quite wobbly. So there's the option to stay with both feet on the ground, or you might find that kick. And we're going to do it 2 more times. So we'll inhale and exhale, ha. We'll do that 1 more time. Inhale like you're gathering up all your confidence, and then you're kicking away all the things that might take that away. Ha! And then come back. And then just let that land. We're going to take a step back now with this right foot. So you might take a few steps, whoop, big wobble from me, to come all the way back, and then just shake that a little bit. Well done. So we'll do that on the other side. We're going to step the left foot forwards. And remember, you can keep the back heel down. That feels a bit steadier. You might lift the back heel off the floor. And just take a moment maybe to just bounce a little. Let yourself land. And then we'll inhale, let the arms come up. And just soften a little into the shoulders. And just take a few breaths here. See if you can start to muster up some of that sense of confidence. Remember, it's okay to imagine it. That's often where things start. And then we're going to take 3 of those movements again. And remember, you might kick or you might stay with both feet on the floor and just draw the elbows back. So inhale. And then exhale. Ha! We'll do that 2 more times. Ha! 1 more time. Ha! And then step it back. Might be a bit wobbly. And then let your hands just come onto your hips and slowly step this foot back. And when you get there, just let that have a bit of a shake. I'm going to turn to face you now, but keep shaking a bit. Shake your arms, shake your legs, shake your bum, shake your head, and maybe make a bit of sound, really silly sound. So just like, the sillier the better. Great. So we're going to do 1 more standing posture. So I'll turn again. And we'll start by stepping the right foot forward. And this time, with those left toes, we're going to turn them so they're facing towards the screen. And the right foot's forward. We're going to inhale and open those arms out. So this posture is often called warrior pose. So we're kind of cultivating this sense of a warrior, which doesn't mean we're always like, I'm fighting. There can also be this sense of calmness and steadiness and knowing when's the moment to take action and when's the moment to just kind of stay and be quiet and calm with it. This kind of quieter sense of confidence. So we'll take a couple of breaths here. Maybe let your gaze come down the middle finger of that front hand. We're going to take 2 breaths now to flow. So we're going to come back, maybe land that back hand onto the leg, lift that right arm up. And then we're going to come forwards, maybe take this right hand onto the thigh and reach the left arm over. One more time, maybe with the breath. Inhale, take that back. And exhale, coming forward. Inhale, coming all the way back up. And then what we can do is we're going to change. So we're going to turn those right toes to point towards the screen and the left toes to point to the side. So we come to this warrior 2 on the other side. And we'll take a few moments to land, maybe even give your toes a bit of a wiggle. It's really good for strengthening the legs. Maybe even finding a little smile. And then once again, finding this flow. So we'll drop the back hand onto the thigh, sweep that top arm up. And then come forwards, take that hand onto that front thigh and reach the top arm over. And maybe now with the breath. Inhale, taking that back. And exhale, taking the left hand onto the thigh and sweeping the right arm over. Inhale, coming all the way back up. And then we're going to turn those left toes, so now both the feet are facing forwards, bring the hands onto the hips and just wiggle the feet inwards so we come all the way back to standing and maybe you want to take another little shake. So now we're going to come to lying down on the floor. Take your time to transition from standing, find the ground again with your hands and just move how you need to comfortably get onto your bum. Maybe take the feet out in front of you and then just steadily bring yourself down onto the ground. And then let your arms come out into like a big T shape. So you're going to bring your knees into your chest and then let them just drop over to one side. And let your gaze can be to the sky, or you might choose to take your gaze in the opposite direction if that feels okay for your neck. And we'll just stay here for one more breath. And then we're going to bring those knees back to center and let them drop over to the other side. Again, maybe you gaze to the sky or maybe you take that gaze over to the opposite side. And then from here, bring the knees back to center and we're going to come to our relaxation now. So you might lie down flat. You might take the soles of the feet to the floor and bend the knees. You might lie on your side or on your front. I'm going to come upright so I can talk you through this last bit. So letting yourself take all the time you need to settle and get as comfortable as you can. And this is perhaps a little time now to get into contact with that quieter sense of confidence. Letting the muscles and bones of your body perhaps soften and release a little into the support from the ground beneath you. And as you rest here, I'm going to share a poem by a poet called Mary Oliver. And it's okay if what I read doesn't resonate with you, you can just let it float away. So this poem is called The Journey. One day you will finally know what you had to do and begun, though the voices around you kept shouting their bad advice, though the whole house began to tremble and you felt the old tug at your ankles. Mend my life, each voice cried. But you didn't stop. You knew what you had to do. though the wind pried with its stiff fingers at the very foundations, though their melancholy was terrible, it was already late enough, and a wild night, and the road full of fallen branches and stones. But little by little, as you left their voices behind, the stars began to burn through the sheets of clouds, and there was a new voice, which you slowly recognized as your own, that kept you company as you strode deeper and deeper into the world, determined to do the only thing you could do, determined to save the only life you could save. So let's take a few deep breaths. Inhale like you're drawing confidence into your body. And exhale, releasing anything that might want to be let go of. Down into the ground. 2 more breaths like that. Well done. And then perhaps starting to find a little bit of movement in the fingers, the toes, and you might do what we started with, perhaps finding a bit of touch on the body if that feels nice, a little squeeze of the arms, the belly, the legs, just inviting yourself to start to move and reawaken. And eventually starting to find your way to come back to seated. Unless you feel like you want to stay here for a little longer, you can do that. And if you're coming up to close with me, then finding your way to a comfortable seat. And let's just bring one hand onto the opposite shoulder, the other hand onto the other, and give yourself a nice big squeeze. Let your head bow, maybe closing the eyes. Just thanking yourself for taking the time to practice today. Thank you very much.